What's up everybody and welcome to the channel. Today I'm showing you everything you need to refresh the brake system on your 1980 KZ750 LTD-H. Just a little heads up, I bought some of the last parts for some of these, so I apologize in advance. Alright, so right here is everything you'll need to refresh your braking system. First things first, we got some semi-sintered brake pads, which are a little nicer than the factory stuff, but less aggressive than track pads, so you can still ride spiritedly if you'd like, and they'll grab really nice. Right here is the rear brake master cylinder repair kit. For some reason it did not come with a dust boot, which I don't know why, but in that case I found this off of Volkswagen Beetle based off of the size of the bores on both ends, so hopefully this works. Also, we got a new brake lever right here. This I bought a couple years back, but really didn't put any miles on it. This is a Nissan OEM replacement brake lever, so it matches the era of the bike, but the reservoir itself is smaller since the factory one's big and rectangular and didn't work with the clip-on bars. Because we're cleaning up the looks of the bike, we got a new rear brake reservoir from Spears Racing. It'll tuck up nicely behind the frame rail. This is the brake rebuild kit, but for some reason it is missing a couple things. Initially I wasn't necessarily going to rebuild it until I took apart the calipers and came across a lot of things you don't want to see, so definitely want this to rebuild the brake calipers. Right here are new pistons from Brake Crafters. I found them on eBay, so finding a part for a 43-year-old bike was super easy. We got three, two for the front, one for the rear, all OEM spec, which is super cool. I'm replacing them because once I disassembled this, all that pitting is not good, and that would have just led to some leaks. So, unlike car brake pads, these do not come with the sliding hardware, annoyingly. So, somehow I found a website that still has OEM parts for this bike, and we got a couple of things. First, we got the brake hardware I was telling you about, or the sliding brake pad hardware I was telling you about. So all that's going to be nice and fresh because two of the calipers were missing, these, and then the rest were super crusty, so figured I'd just get it all new. Right here, the other rubber piece I was telling you about, one of the slider pins themselves have this rubber seal on it. These are all the part numbers as well for this stuff. Right here is more of the brake pad hardware. These are the springs. These are the sliders themselves. I was cleaning up the other ones, but they're a bit crusty, and if I'm rebuilding or replacing everything on the calipers, I figured I might as well do these. These were the other sliders. As you see, it has that groove in it for that piece of rubber I showed you. So all these are nice and fresh. Also, this is not for the brakes, but this is for the swing arm. This was the very last one they had, and I only found this, I knew it was discontinued, and I only found it because I decided to rebuild the brake calipers, and on the website they had exactly what I needed. So this is for the swing arm. I'll go put that right over there. Right here we got some brake lines for the front and the rear. So not only do these brake lines look nicer because they're stainless, they'll work nicer because they're stainless, and then I got dual front brake lines because one, it deletes this junction box, and two, if it's anything like my bike when I ran a gyro, it'll give better pressure per caliper, and it'll make the brake system feel better. I also got a rear one in here. Right here we got some new brake rotors, and these obviously are from EBC. I bought two off one website, had no more, and then I found one more of the right side one, which is for the rear, and I think this was also the last of the EBC brake rotors. But honestly, all in for all this stuff, the custom brake lines, the upgraded lever, pads, rotors, pistons, rebuild and reseal kits, new sliders, new hardware, all this stuff, you're probably talking upwards of $1,000. Annoyingly, but I needed basically all of it. Also, these brake lines I got from Moto Services or Moto Vintage Services. If you need anything, let them know. Super helpful. Matt Wiley helped me out a bunch with all of this. So that's where you can get these, and then the rest of this stuff you could find on Dime City Cycles and whatnot. So that being said, now you have all the part numbers of the websites for you to rebuild your braking system, but now let's rebuild mine. Alright, so we got a compressor with a rubber tip so that we can put it inside this port where the line would go and push out the piston. Just make sure that put some cardboard in here so the piston doesn't fly out. We'll do that and then start replacing them. Alright, simple as that. Piston is out. Just stuck to the inside. Nice and corroded. Seal is right down there. It's crusty as hell. Look at how crusty that is. All that corrosion. Good thing I'm rebuilding these. At some point, these will get repainted. But right now, I'm just mechanically getting the bike up to par. Once everything works, that's when it'll get stripped down and refreshed completely. You could see where this was sitting the most was on the seal, and that's where the corrosion is. At least the bodies I can clean up, thankfully. Alright, so everything I cleaned out. Just gonna give these one last good spray down before we start putting everything together. So, pistons. Whew. Much better. Damn. Alright, sick. I was told when rebuilding brakes to use brake fluid as a lubricant. Don't use anything else. So in this case, like this seal, just get some brake fluid on here. Seal in here. Then from here, put the dust boot over the piston to where the boot, very bottom of it, right? Slide it down. Make sure where the dust boot is going to seal is exposed, because first thing you're going to do is put the dust boot in, which is still a slight pain in the butt, right? Might want something to just press it in. Alright, the base of the seal's all the way in. Slide in the piston, and then once it's in, the top of the seal catches the top of the piston. So, pain in the ass, obviously, but now I gotta redo this one. Boom. Done. Perfect. Now these have new pistons and new seals. Next, we gotta do the hardware. These I cleaned up, but they are a bit crusty. So, let's grab the new ones. The sliders go on the bracket side. We got the inside of the bracket clean. So you can put on the new slider pins. One of them gets a rubber boot like I told you. One more thing, put on this little dust boot for the bleeder valve. Now they're all resealed. So, gonna finish up these two, clean up the brackets, put in the slider pins, and then we can start putting on the discs and the pads. Alright, so all the brake calipers are rebuilt. You see the nice new piston in there, the dust shield, the bleeder cap. Then we got the new slider pins in there with the new dust boots. Everything's looking pretty good. Now we can try to rebuild the rear brake master cylinder yet again. Hope it works. Alright, so here we have the rear brake master. Let's get this resealed. I'm not sure if it's actually... Oh, it's disgusting. As is everything else on this bike. Let's take a couple of these pieces off and clean it up. This boot is shot. So it's not a snap ring or a C-clip. I've never seen one of these, but I guess same idea. Just like that, I'd assume this would pop out. I'm going to spray some Gibbs on it, let it sit, and hopefully come back and it actually comes off. But last thing we have to rebuild, so hopefully it cooperates. So it looks like this washer in here is stuck. I've let it sit in PB Blaster for days and nothing's happened. So what I'm gonna do, I got it to seat so I know it'll move, but the only way I think I could get this out is drilling a couple holes across to basically cut it in half, and then measure, or I'll measure before I do that, I'll measure the inner and outer diameter and get a stainless steel one so that after the fact this won't happen again. So I'm gonna take the measurements real quick and then start drilling. Oh, I guess that weakened it just enough. That's the inside of the brake master, but if I can clean it up, then I should be alright. Alright, so I cleaned this up actually much more than I thought I'd be able to. You can see pitting from all the rust and whatnot. This top piece is aluminum, but below this nut, I'm pretty sure the threads and all this stuff is just raw steel, so I'm going to put some rust converter on that so it doesn't get any worse. Also, once this is all back together, this is going to be sealed in a boot, and it shouldn't be seeing any of the elements, but you never know. Now let's rebuild the master and clean that out. Yeah, look at all that crustiness in there, and this is aluminum, so that should not be like that. I'm going to try to clean that out, but we'll see what happens. New seal, boot, that'll hopefully work. The new reservoir and everything, even though it doesn't look like reservoir, and that'll be everything. So we should probably put a little brake fluid on this just so it doesn't catch. Alright, drop that in there. Feels good. That's also why you put in some brake fluid. Alright, I put a light coat of rust reformer on here. This we just press in, get the retaining clip in there, and we're good. This boot might be a little big, but this was the only one I could find with the proper diameter of the master. Alright, so I got the boot on over the first nut. It doesn't actually go to the two where it's supposed to sit in between, but honestly, this can still get fully compressed, and the boot seals pretty well around that first nut. So I'm just going to leave it as that. I'm glad it actually worked. So now, once I tighten this, we can move on to the brake discs. Alright, so it looks like it's a 5mm Allen. If I can get these off. Holy shit. These are only supposed to be torqued down to 16 foot-pounds, but seems like that's quite a bit more. Or these might be the originals and have never been replaced. Holy fuck. The reason I'm replacing these though is because I don't know if you can see, but there's a bunch of ridges. And when I bought the bike, it was like that, and the guy I went with said it was okay, but I don't feel comfortable with those grooves in there, especially since on cars this isn't safe, so on a motorcycle it's even more unsafe. So we got EBC replacements, and you can see the cross etching and no grooves catch my nail, versus these are also 5mm thick, which means they can be resurfaced if needed. So that was another option if I couldn't find any, but I'd rather just replace them with new ones and hold on to these just in case. God damn. Whew, that one's pretty crusty. And this is the right side. Got to make sure to put on the correct disc. Alright, next side. Alright, this just has to get torqued down, but let's put this out of the way for now. Now we have the rear. Looks a little bit more crusty, so hopefully we could get these off. Jesus. So I did notice, if these are factory, this rear one is 7mm thick where the fronts are 5. I couldn't find any rear specific brake rotors, and I know the brake calipers in the rebuild kit, that was equivalent to a front right. Still gonna put on the front right on the rear, because that's the only new one I have, but then I'm going to look up online to see if this part number is the same, just to be on the safe side. But also the rear takes less brake load, so I don't see why this can't be thinner. But alright, so we got the new rotor on. I had to shave down the inside a bit because it was cut straight, and I noticed the factory ones are slightly beveled, so now it fits much better. This is a 5mm rotor. I cannot find an aftermarket one like this, and like I said, the calipers are the same for the front and the rear, so I'm hoping this works. If it doesn't, I'm going to take the factory one. I'll get this machined because this still has some life in it. But in the meantime, I'm going to throw this one on. And then, because I'm already messing with the wheel, we'll put on the sprocket on the other side. So let's get this on. Alright. I'm going to clean it up first. As you see, it is very dirty. So I'm going to take this off, clean it, and then we'll get that sprocket mounted. Already major fucking difference. Jesus. Let me just hit this Brillo pad. Alrighty. Now that makes the rest of the wheel look like shit. Alright, now that this is all situated, let's clean up some more of the brake system, which involves the swing arm and the lever that the rear brake is attached to. Just gonna hit this with some rust converter to keep it from getting any worse. Also, while we're here, these mounts are for the chain guard, which I will no longer be running. So in order to make this look cleaner, we'll zap these off and grind that down. Yeah, just cleaning it up little by little. So let me wipe this off, and we'll put some rust converter on here. Alright, so here's the swing arm, recently painted because it was quite crusty. Let's take this off. Nothing left to it. Oh, there is no grease on this. I'm gonna have to put grease on the sleeve, put it in the swing arm as well, make sure it's all nice and lubricated so it doesn't turn into this piece of shit. Because if this is the last one, I'm screwed. So since I'm here, I'm gonna JB weld these bolts in to the levers. And my idea is, because I'm not running the levers, or I'm running these levers, but because I'm not running the factory mirrors high up, I'm running the bar end ones. I want to plug these, cut them, and then grind them to shape and paint them so they look like from factory, as if they never came with the mount for the mirrors. This is the actual OEM clutch lever. This is an aftermarket brake lever because when I put the clip-on bars on, the factory reservoir was rectangular like this, and it actually hit, I think, the headlight mount or something. Almost OEM, just different reservoir. So I got some JB Weld quick weld here. Just gonna mix it up, not too much of it, and then put it in the bolts, let it sit, and then zap them like I said. This one goes all the way through, so I just got to make sure it's flush. And then this one bottoms out, so just screw this puppy all the way in. Alright, so next thing we're gonna clean up is the brake lever and the clutch lever. These aren't as crucial, but I'm gonna cut it off, grind it down flat, throw some paint on it. It's gonna look 10 times better than it does right now. I am 110% content with that. That looks sick. Hell yeah. Let's go throw some paint on this, and then we should be good. So I will say this clutch lever bracket came out pretty well, if I do say so myself. The piece for the brake lever is still drying. That should then be it for the brake system. Alright, so that's it for this video. I hope it was helpful. That took quite a bit of work, and it was fairly tedious considering every time I dove into something on this brake system, I had to find something else new. We did everything I could think of, which are calipers that are fully refreshed, new lines, new brake pads, new hardware, even cleaned up the brake lever aesthetically, which I didn't have to do, rear brake master, rear brake reservoir delete. I may be missing something off the top of my head, but now, since that is all done, we get to dive into the new suspension. So if you want to see that, feel free to tune in for the next video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. I hope you enjoyed, and I definitely hope this is helpful, because That's why I started making these videos in the first place.